thanks for joining us on the news. I'm Ruth Aguele. My sign language interpreter is Shagun Ajayi. You can watch this news live on all our social media platforms displayed on the screen. We're starting with the headlines. President Bola Tinubu approves takeoff of consumer credit scheme. Citizens to enjoy access to good services upfront. World Health Organization partners Sick More campaign against malaria-related death. And ECOWAS to work out new strategy to combat insecurity in the sub-region. Enters partnership with AU to cut down increasing wave of terrorism. Sharing news for consumers as President Bola Tinubu has approved the takeoff of the first phase of the consumer credit scheme. Consumer credits serves as a lifeblood of modern economies, enabling citizens to enhance their quality of life by accessing goods and services upfront and paying responsibly over time. It facilitates crucial purchases such as homes, vehicles, education and health care, essential for ongoing stability to pursue their aspirations. Through responsible repayment, individuals build credit histories, unlocking more opportunities for a better life. Additionally, the increased demand for goods and services stimulates local industry and job creation. The president believes every hard-working Nigerian should have access to social mobility, with consumer credit playing a pivotal role in achieving this vision. In line with the president's directive, the Nigerian Consumer Credit Corporation has launched a portal for Nigerians to express interest in receiving consumer credit. This initiative, in collaboration with financial institutions and cooperatives nationwide, aims to broaden consumer credit availability. In other news, the federal government has put in plans in place to tackle poverty and insecurity headlong in Nigeria through financial inclusion for all Nigerians. Deputy Chief of Staff to the President, Ibrahim Hassan Adeja, at a press briefing said there are high-level talks to unveil a roadmap for integrating the unbanked Nigerian population into the formal financial system. And this is coming ahead of a national stakeholders workshop on financial inclusion, restating the Tinubu administration's commitment to an all-inclusive Nigeria.
Inclusion as a panacea for poverty and security challenges in Nigeria. Proposed modalities for transforming to a consumer credit economy for inclusive growth in support of the renewed hope agenda. It will also flag off training of financial inclusion agents and experts to address the capacity gap across the 774 local governments in Nigeria.
So financial inclusion is going to be an agenda item at the National Economic Council to ensure that both the federal as well as the subnationals have done their own bits in order to ensure successful implementation of the financial inclusion agenda.
Financial inclusion means that if you are in a village and you need a loan of 10 million, there's someone physically in that village who is competent and has been trained and certified to help you access that kind of financing. That is one of the gaps that the private sector wants to work very closely with this government to make inclusion a reality in practice.
Scheduled for Thursday, April 25 and Friday, April 26, 2024, aims to sensitize stakeholders and chart a course for accelerating financial inclusion efforts nationwide. The Senate Committee on Capital Market has engaged stakeholders towards boosting export of agricultural products. The meeting, attended by Minister of State, Agriculture and Food Security, Sabi Abdullahi, dwelt on leveraging Nigeria's agro potentials to increase revenue through the export of raw materials.
Right now is to find ways to further improve on our capacity to produce. So we are amping up dry season farming. We are also providing more support to farmers now so that more farmers will be incentivized to go back to land. And we are also looking at the possibility of many of our institutions that have land, which they can also bring into production. So these and many more are the things we're doing. And of course, the president is also upbeat about our low mechanization. And so we're having programs to deal with increasing our mechanization.
Chairman of the Senate Committee on Capital Market, Senator Osita Izunasu, says Nigeria's commodity exchange market should be critically assessed for standardization.
Pass through the commodity exchange as a way of getting revenue for the country. And why are we doing more of importing finished products and also exporting finished products? We should be able to deal with the issues of exporting the finished product instead of exporting our raw material. Even in crude, we export crude only for us to bring it back into the country as a finished product. That should stop.
The issues that have to do with the legal framework was discussed extensively, and how to make amendments to legal framework to forestall leakages in Nigeria's revenue space, and also the issue that has to do with exports. How do we ramp up exports? How do we create an enabling environment for ease of doing business in the agri space?
The federal government has advised the nation's judiciary to embark on reforms that will ensure a functional justice system that will guarantee basic human and political rights of individuals, as well as provide security. Vice President Kashim Shettima gave the charge when he declared open the National Summit on Justice 2024, held at the National Judicial Institute, Abuja. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jabrila reports.
The first call by the executive to the judicial officers is to align their activities within the tenets of the Renewed Hope agenda, expressing determination to implement policies and promises made to Nigerians. Vice President Kashim Shettima outlined measures put in place to reposition the judiciary to include full complement of the 21 justices of the Supreme Court as required by the law for the first time after many years, and substantial increase in the salaries and emoluments of judges, which is currently undergoing legislative action.
And however, not oblivious to the successes and various achievements recorded by justice sector institutions. In this regard, I am fully aware of the long-fought battle and efforts of the Federal Ministry of Justice, which saved the nation from huge financial indebtedness and international embarrassment. I have also noted achievements in the area of legislative reforms, which resulted in the nationwide adoption of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act laws, as well as the nationwide adoption of the Child Rights Act, the enactment of the Police Act and related reforms.
The Vice President said the justice sector leaders and professionals need to find the right responses to the challenges faced through policy innovation and citizen-centered reform. He urged the leadership of all justice sector institutions to seek a new direction and focus on the outcomes of the summit by creating a justice system that truly responds to the needs of Nigerians. Senate President Godswill Akpabio commended the commitment of all stakeholders in the justice sector in building a consensus that will ensure a robust judicial system that guarantees justice for all, irrespective of background and social status.
We are committed to budgeting for the implementation of judicial reforms that will include the adoption of digital tools to manage cases more effectively and ensure that justice is neither delayed nor denied. The journey requires collective effort. So I call upon all stakeholders here today, including my colleagues in both chambers, and including the executive branches, as well as the states, particularly with the presence of the chairman of the Governors Forum, because if the states do not concur, we cannot have any major reform in the Constitution.
The revised draft national policy on justice is aimed at building a national consensus on the advancement of the justice sector towards constitutional, statutory and operational reforms, which is imperative in meeting the aspirations and yearnings of the general public. In Abuja, Abdurrahman Jabrila, NTA News.
In a related development, the fact that the judicial sector needs critical reforms for the people to have access to justice is not in doubt. This is the convergence of opinions of participants at the ongoing National Summit on Justice in Abuja. Let's hear from Judiciary correspondent Dele Atumbi.
Before now, there had been clamor for reforms in the justice sector for a fair, equitable and just society. This National Summit on Justice 2024 is a response to the advocacy for critical overhaul of the justice sector to meet the yearnings and aspirations of the people. The summit, with a team repositioning the justice system, brought together key players in the justice sector, including the major actors in the executive and the legislative arms of government, thereby making it a tripartite arrangement for the good of all.
The pursuit of justice lies at the heart of our collective aspirations for a fair and equitable society. It is a fundamental pillar upon which the rule of law rests, and it is essential for the maintenance of peace, stability, and social cohesion. A well-articulated, broad roadmap of initiatives, actions, and responsibilities for addressing and repositioning the justice sector to effectively and efficiently discharge its duties in enhancing national security, upholding the rule of law, promoting the protection of human rights, democratic principles, and socio-economic development of our dear nation.
Transformative constitutions depend fundamentally on which political leadership will implement it.
This summit is expected to come up with national policy on justice 2024 to 2028 will be a turning point in the advancement of this critical sector of the nation.
No model policy is a policy that aims at resettling people back into the society after the insurgency.
Statements that have come from the bench of the judiciary, of the courts of this nation, have been largely responsible for keeping this country together.
Laws are supposed to be organic documents. Laws are supposed to be dynamic, change with the changing nature of society. Laws are not supposed to be static. So we have a lot of laws that are obsolete, that need to be reviewed to bring them in tandem with realities of the society.
Access to justice and placing premium on matters of law, participants say, are known pillars of sustainable socio-economic development. In Abuja, Dele Atumbi, NTA News.
Emerging trends and conflicts and violent extremism across Africa will require new strategies to resolve and restore peace in troubled regions, especially in West Africa, where terrorism is slowing down the pace of development. At the inaugural joint consultative meeting of the African Union and ECOWAS Mediation, Peace and Security Council in Abuja, delegates were seeking more impactful role for the AU in continental affairs. Let's hear from Calvin Ahunwai.
At the moment, conflicts and terrorism are the major challenges facing some parts of Africa. The impact on the economy of affected countries is enormous, but the situation in West Africa is the most challenging for the African Union because of the resurgence of coup with implications for counter-terrorism efforts. This inaugural meeting of the AU and ECOWAS Mediation, Peace and Security Council is therefore aimed at finding new strategies to keep the region safe, while sources of additional funding for counter-terrorism operations are to be explored.
The West African region is the most affected by the scourge of terrorism and violent extremism on the continent, in terms of attacks, deaths, and casualties. Together, we can reverse this unfortunate trend.
By aligning our strategies and actions, this consultation can foster a deeper understanding of regional security dynamics. We harmonize our efforts, aim at preventive diplomacy, and develop a more effective conflict resolution strategies, thereby ensuring that we have a more cohesive, comprehensive approach to regional peace, security, to ensure stability.
A resolution is expected at the end of the meeting. In Abuja, Calvin Ahunwai, NTA News.
The Rwanda government says it welcomes the decision by the British Parliament to approve its migrant deportation bill. Well, the legislation was finally pushed 2 years after it was first proposed. Government spokesperson Ilian Mukuralinda said Rwanda was ready to receive migrants from the UK.
This partnership has been there for 2 years, and it has a budget that will look after the migrants when they arrive in Rwanda. There is money to cater for their temporary accommodation, there is money for processing their documents, and there is a budget to cater for migrants' permanent stay alongside Rwandans. Everything is planned and the money was given and everything is in place. Even if the plane landed with them now or the following day, they can be received and taken care of, given accommodation and get medical assistance if needed.
Hours after the act was passed on Tuesday, 5 migrants died attempting to cross the English Channel. Referring to the incident, Alien said the Rwandan plan was a viable solution to prevent such deaths. Human rights organizations have vowed to continue the fight against the policy, which they say is unethical and inhumane. No one has yet been sent to Rwanda, but British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has said the first flights will leave in July. All right, let's take a break now. We'll be back. Thank you for staying tuned. Jerusalem residents have commemorated the 109th anniversary of the Armenian genocide with candles and prayers at St. James Cathedral, just as a torchlight procession was held in Yerevan. Comfort Fashion reports.
The commemoration participants gathered at the memorial, reading prayers in harmony before lighting candles and placing them on the memorial boards of those who had passed away during the genocide. A participant of the Armenian community in Jerusalem said this is a day where every year, as Armenians all over the world commemorate the genocide, remember, demand justice and demand recognition in order to prevent future genocides in the world. A torchlight procession commemorating the victims of the Armenian genocide was held in Yerevan, and thousands of residents converged on the Republic Square, engaging in the symbolic act of burning the flags of Azerbaijan and Turkey. Demonstrators also marched through the capital streets, bearing torches and pounding drums. Reports estimate that approximately 20,000 individuals participated in the procession, and this annual event is orchestrated by the opposition Dashnaksutyong Party along with its youth wing. According to the International Association of Genocide Scholars, the Armenian genocide took place in the Ottoman Empire during and after World War I between 1915 and 1923. Commemorations is held every year since the 1920s, marking the date in 1915 when hundreds of prominent members of the community were arrested in the Ottoman capital of Constantinople before being executed. And around 10,000 Armenians are currently residing in Israel, with the community rising prominently in Jerusalem and making up for one of the 4 uneven quarters in the old city, besides Muslims, Jews and Christians. Comfort Fashion, NTA News.
Democratic Republic of Congo has declared an epidemic of mpox after 19 cases were confirmed across 5 departments, including the capital, Brazzaville. Reports say no deaths have yet been recorded. Health Minister Gilbert Mukoki, in a statement, called on the public to take precautions, including avoiding close contact with suspected cases, avoiding contact with animals, and avoiding handling game meat with bare hands. The World Health Organization has named the virus mpox to replace the older term monkeypox, citing concerns of stigma and racism associated with the name. Mpox was first detected in humans in neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo. That was in 1970, according to the WHO. Symptoms include fever, aches, and skin lesions. In 2022, the WHO declared an outbreak that spread to Europe and North America a global health emergency. Partners in the Rollback Malaria Campaign and the World Health Organization have blamed 4 in every 5 deaths of children under 5 on malaria. The African Youth Growth Foundation, with years of service towards eliminating malaria, is calling for concerted efforts to raise awareness campaigns and reduce malaria deaths among women and children, especially in rural areas. Executive Director of Foundation, Dr. Arome Salifu, also wants government at all levels to engage communities in health decision-making, as communities need their best in addressing with the involvement of its members, soliciting for buy-in that ensures sustainability after intervention.
Another approach is to improve access to healthcare among vulnerable communities through the delivery of affordable healthcare to hard-to-reach communities across the country. In Nigeria, a large part of this country currently falls in the low-income category of living, making affordability of healthcare quite cumbersome. Therefore, a need to adopt universal health coverage, ensuring that all people have access to full range of healthcare as needed without financial restraints.
The foundation says over 2 million pregnant women in Katsina, Kogi and Niger states have benefited from its health program. The theme of this year's celebration is accelerating the fight against malaria for a more equitable world, highlighting the critical importance of advancing health equity, gender equality, and human rights in malaria responses worldwide, with the slogan, "Let's change the narrative now." Recognizing the transformative potential of information and communication technology in modern healthcare documentation, the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives have embarked on training to enhance the digital skills of its members. Uche Gochukwu reports that chairmen and secretaries of nurses and midwives across the 36 states and the FCD are participating in the training.
In this hall are over 300 nurses and midwives from across the country, updating their knowledge on ICT amidst evolving healthcare landscapes and increasing demands for efficient record keeping, as well as the need to streamline member documentation processes across Nigeria.
What we have in the platform, it will help us to, one, on a touch, you'll be able to know where each nurse is, how many specialization do we have, where do we have deficiencies.
We have been complaining of quackery in the profession, but with this automated online registration of nurses, it will go a long way to helping us.
The training on automated system platform also hopes to address the pressing need for standardized and digitized systems for maintaining comprehensive records of nursing and midwifery professionals nationwide.
The entire system is becoming somehow paperless, digitalized, automated, so you wouldn't expect all people to be ICT compliant.
Between now and the end of the month, we should be able to give a confidential numerical strength of nurses and midwives in all the facility areas, which will equally not only help the association, but government in all forms of planning.
These professionals, however, appealed for better working conditions for members and payment of the approved 25% conherence increment by all state governments as a way to reduce brain drain in the specialty. Uche Ugochukwu, NTA News.
The Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation has vowed to promote and join efforts to defend the rights of persons with disabilities. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, at an engagement with the Executive Secretary of the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities, James Lalu, ordered the setting up of a 5-man member committee under the ministry to boost efforts and further harness the potential of persons with disabilities. He assured that the rights and dignity of more than 35 billion persons with disabilities will be propagated through public enlightenment.
The Federal Ministry of Information will not be left behind in pushing the case for people with disability so that they can all have the right to exist without any form of discrimination, without any form of molestation, without any form of disadvantage being placed on them, especially in the area of public enlightenment, public education, as far as the rights and privileges of people living with disability, so that you can have a feeling of inclusion, and not just have the feeling, also have that inclusion that you all require for the benefit of all Nigerians.
Our eye, nobody work with the eyes, with the ears, or the legs, but the work comes from the brain. That is where the determination comes, where we think, where we can be able to be very, very productive. Excellency, when you look at all of the disability community have a lot to offer.
Relevant stakeholders, including the sub-national governments, to fast-track the implementation of the disability law. And just before we go, let's have a quick check on Thursday's weather prospect. We're done with the news, and we do appreciate your time. I'm Ruth Aguele. My sign language interpreter is Abuja. Have a lovely evening.